Hi food students. Today we're going to talk about recipes. So making sense of a recipe. Why do we use recipes? How are they written? How are they constructed? Who comes up with them? Um, I used to actually work on a cooking show. I think I told you. It's called What's Cooking with Chef Jance. And one of my jobs as a home economist on that show was actually writing recipes. So I've had a chat with you a bit about that. So thinking about, this is the main ingredient I want to show as the hero in this dish, and then coming up with a recipe or an idea that might work and then testing it. So one thing that, this picture shows us is how we go from raw food and produce to a cooked meal. So, you collect your ingredients. I collect lots from my garden, but also collect them from the supermarket or the greengrocer, or you might have had things delivered to you during COVID. And then, how we get it into being a delicious meal. So let's dive in and have a look at what recipes do. So a recipe is a list of ingredients and instructions for preparing food, including a name. So it's always got a title. Then there's usually a list of ingredients, including quantities. And sometimes there's preliminary preparation instructions, like chop an onion, or it might have one onion finely chopped, one carrot finely diced, or one clove of garlic crushed. So they're just like some little things to do before you get too far down into the actual cooking stage, and that way they're not explaining it in the method. So the method explains how to prepare the ingredients and the order in which the processes should be completed. It's an indication usually there of the cooking temperature and time. So it might say, preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius, or it might say turn on your fry pan to a medium heat. And it might also say on there, cook for 25 minutes. There's an estimated amount of time. So then sometimes there's a list of special ingredients, especially if you're doing cakes or desserts or something. You may need a special size cake pan because they know that quantity fits a 20 centimeter ring cake tin, or it might be that you need a potato ricer, or you might need a steamer or something like that. And also there's an indication of the number of serves that a recipe makes. So I was trying to think of that name. In English you have to do different types of writing, and this would be a procedural text because you're having a list step by step of instructions of what to do. So here's an example of a recipe: berry oatmeal muffins. So we have a title, and it tells us how many it makes. It makes 12 small muffins. Then it has a list of ingredients with some abbreviations, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then a list of instructions. I tend to prefer instructions to be numbered, but this is very clear anyway. So preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius. Then sift the flour and baking powder into a bowl. Stir in the oats, sugar and salt. Mix the eggs. So it goes step by step of what to do. It gives you another special instruction here: do not overmix, because it becomes quite tough otherwise. And then it gives you an estimated amount of time to cook it for, and to leave it cool, and then if you wanted to, or you could serve it warm. So recipes come in many different formats. Sometimes it's written like a paragraph. It's really hard to understand that way. I tend to find it much easier when it's in this format. And I thought we would just have a quick little look at abbreviations. So G is grams, kg is kilogram. So grams is used a lot in recipes. So the year 10s cooked dal today, and we made flatbread, and it was 150 grams of flour and 150 grams of yogurt. So I'll just skip through again. So, measuring out on scales is really helpful. Milliliters, we needed, sometimes, it'll say 250 mils of water or chicken stock or milk. And then there's also liters. If you're cooking in big quantities, it might say that. Sometimes it even says half a litre. So it's good to know that, 500 mils is half a litre. TSP, teaspoon, Capital TBS or TBSP is tablespoon, if that's an abbreviation. C means cup, cm for centimeters. So sometimes it might say cut your chicken into 3 centimeter cubes or something like that. SR flour, self-raising, and degrees Celsius. These are basic abbreviations you need to know when you're cooking. So really, really important. So if you're going to write a recipe, let's go back to say this one here. Say you wanted 24 muffins. It's really important to be able to do things like double a recipe or halve a recipe. Say you want to make some. So yes, so if you want to make only 6 muffins, then you would need to halve that recipe. So it's good, a bit of a math lesson, I guess. But you know, like if you're going to make 24, then obviously you double it. So you'd need 300 grams of flour, you need 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 40 grams of oats, 200 grams of caster sugar, 4 eggs, 220 grams of yogurt, 120 mils of vegetable oil, and 250 of blueberries. So you can see how it's quite an easy thing to do, and most of the time it works quite well. Gets a bit tricky if you want to triple recipes. Sometimes the consistency can be a bit off, but it's good to, you know, have a little play around sometimes. And the same, if you've only got a couple of people coming around and you go, I just want half a batch, then you can do that. It's the same with, you know, main meals. Sometimes you might want a half a recipe. But it's important when you are deciding what to make to look at how much it makes, because you don't want to be stuck with tons of food if, you know, you're not going to eat it, and especially if it doesn't freeze well. Or you might decide to make a big batch and then freeze some so you don't have to cook during the week as well. So lots of different ideas and interesting points in recipes, but this is basically your main parts of your recipes. And you know, we need that format of name, ingredients, method. They're the main things, and we might do a little bit of work on that as we go along, and you know, having to go at doubling a recipe, halving a recipe, changing a recipe, and then doing some testing to see how that actually works as well. But keep going with your cooking method questions and see if you can actually match those up. That'd be good to see whether you've understood what we're doing. And then there's a few questions about a recipe as well to submit. And then I will see you again on Friday next week. Bye.